That's great. So yeah, hi, I'm Lesley. I am a business development manager with Peninsula, Canada. And basically we're an HR company. So we help small to medium-sized businesses with their HR and health and safety to make sure they're staying compliant with the Ministry of Labor. We're a new company to Canada. We've been around for 2 years or so in Canada, but we started in the UK in 1983. We have about 80,000 clients worldwide. So we are a global company. So I'm just going to get right into it. I originally was going to talk to you guys about layoffs specifically, but I think thinking about it over the last day or so, everybody's business is kind of in a different place. Some of you will have laid off employees. Some of you are still operating in your essential services. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about the future and getting back to business again. So I want to cover 3 things. I'm going to share my screen with you and just do that. So I hope everybody can see my screen. Basically, the 3 things. So the number 1 question we're getting to our
Lesley, we can't see your screen yet.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Hold on, try again. How about that one?
Oh,
Is that working?
It looks like it's about to.
Yeah.
There it is.
There we go. So yeah, the number 1 question, we have an advice line that we're getting about 1,000 calls a day to right now. And the number 1 question we're getting from that advice line is we are getting about layoffs. The other thing I want to talk to you about is your essentials. If you are an essential service, the health and safety policies that you need to have in place right now. And the 3rd thing that I want to talk about is when this is over and returning to your new normal. So essentially with laying off your employees, right now I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in the olden days, 2019, before all this happened, the world was a different place, and there was a restaurant in Toronto and they were having some trouble with their business, so they laid off an employee who'd been with them a long time. They didn't have an employment contract in place with that employee, and there was no layoff clause. If you don't have a layoff clause in writing with your employee, you actually can't lay them off without their consent. So the employee actually decided that they didn't want to be laid off. So they took the layoff as a constructive dismissal. So when you constructively dismiss somebody, obviously you have to pay them full severance pay under common law. It doesn't go under the Employment Standards Act. It's actually a completely different calculation, and you might have to pay them up to 2 years of wages to constructively dismiss them. That's how things used to work in the old world. Now, we don't know if the government is going to change their policies on this. We don't know if there's going to be a new precedent set in all of this. But as it stands right now, if you don't lay off your employees correctly, you could be on the hook down the road to be paying them severance packages if they decide to sue you. So I would really strongly recommend to people that they get advice before they lay off their employees. If you've already done it, please reach out, because there is help for you if you've done it incorrectly. The second thing I wanted to talk about is essential services. So if you are still running your company, you need to have some health and safety policies in place. So what do those look like? You need a pandemic policy specifically for coronavirus. You need to be educating your employees about hygiene. You need to be educating them about social distancing. You need to let them know how to recognize the symptoms, how to report if they are feeling ill, how to leave the business, and making sure that you're, as the employer in Ontario under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, you are completely responsible for your employees' health and safety, and you need to make sure that you're setting up those policies, training and educating your employees correctly on those policies, and setting up even sanitation and hygiene. There was a recent case with a company. They had porta potties on a construction site, and they didn't have anywhere for people to wash their hands. It became a health and safety issue with the Ministry of Labor. You have to make sure that people are not getting sick on your job site, not just because you don't want your employees getting sick, because if your employees get sick, they're not working anymore. But in addition to that, you don't want your clients getting sick if they're being exposed to your employees, and you want to make sure that everybody is being kept safe and they don't carry the virus home to their families at the end of the day. Even things like vehicle use. You think about a construction company where they've got 2 guys getting into the same pickup truck. How are they social distancing in that situation? How are the vehicles being sanitized at the end of the day? Who's looking after that to make sure that everybody is being kept safe and healthy under your watch? Progressive discipline policy should be a part of everybody's health and safety policies. If your employees are not following the rules, now obviously you don't want to slap them, don't do that, but if your employees are not following the rules, you need to make sure that you're disciplining them and making sure that you're keeping them on track and making sure they are following the rules, because at the end of the day, as the employer, you're the one left holding the bag. So you need to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and if they're not, you're disciplining them for it. I know at this day and age, people want to, with the way things are right now, you want to keep your employees because you may be short-staffed at the moment. Even if you're an employer who's still working, you need to make sure that those people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And the last part of this is planning for the future. So eventually you're going to be bringing your employees back if you've laid them off. And you need to be setting up a plan right now. This is a good time to be sitting down and looking at your employees and saying, what's that going to look like? Am I going to roll them back, bring back a few employees at a time? Am I going to bring everybody back at the same time? Who am I going to bring back? You can't decide, okay, I'm going to bring back Joe, but not Mark, because Mark's got kids, and so he might be more difficult. That's actually a human rights abuse. You can't discriminate against somebody based on the fact they have children. So you need to be very careful about who you bring back. You could safely probably make an argument if Joe and Mark didn't make the same amount of money, because we've been through financial hardship right now. You could probably make the argument you're bringing back Joe because you don't have to pay him as much right now. But you do have to be very careful, and you have to have written reasons as to who you're bringing back and why you're bringing them back at each given moment. So the progressive roll-in, and looking forward to that full return to business, because that is gonna happen. So essentially, I wanted you guys to take away 3 things from this. If you're laying off your employees, please get advice before you go ahead and do it. If you've already done it, please get advice. I'm more than happy to talk to people about the situations that they're in specifically and how we can help them. If you have employees that are working, make sure you've got policies in place to protect your employees, your clients, and your business going forward. Make sure you're not on the end of somebody suing you because you were negligent and your employee got sick. And last but not least, plan for the future. This isn't permanent. Let's make sure that your business isn't temporary. We want everybody to come out of this stronger in the end, because there is going to be a new day and a new light at the end of this. Nobody knows what it's going to look like, but let's try to make it as strong, make your company and your business as strong as possible in the end.